guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with another recommendation video for you. It is single parent romances. So I have like 12 to share with you, and I know I need to read more. I love single parent romances. I love it when there's kids involved, whether they're young or old. A couple of these they have like full grown adult children, and a couple they have like toddlers. There's more at stake in a relationship when you have kids involved, and I really like how the decisions have to be a lot more mature, and it's harder in a relationship when you have kids. So I am going to share these. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. I only have 2 historical romances on this list, and I need to have more. I think I only have 1 actually. I was gonna put a Jennifer Ashley book on here, but I've talked about that series a million times, so I'm not. So if you have any good historical romance recommendations with single parents, let me know. I only have 1 on here, and I've read a few more, but they weren't my favorites, so let me know. But I have some to start off with. So the first 2 actually are from the same author. One I always talk about, the other one I don't, and that is Brittany C. Cherry. Brittany C. Cherry has these 2. We have The Gravity of Us, and then we have Eleanor and Grey. The Gravity of Us is one of my favorites. I talked about it recently in a video. This one, he is a single parent, and he is really struggling with it, so our heroine comes and helps him, and they fall in love in the process. He's very damaged and just brooding, and she's this like happy sunshine kind of character. She owns a flower shop. So this one is so emotional. Trigger warnings for death of a loved one in here, and I loved it. It's one of my favorite romances of all time. He's a single parent to a child, like a baby. So this one's great. And then we have Eleanor and Grey, which is a second chance romance. And so they were together when they were younger, and then now she actually gets a babysitting job, and it's with Grey, and he is such a different person than he was before. Again, we have a damaged hero, very hardened and closed off, and he needs a nanny for his kids, and so she's the nanny for his kids, and then they end up falling in love again. It's great, very emotional. Brittany C. Cherry is great at the emotions, so I'd recommend this one as well. Then I have one, so the first one of these books I actually gave 3 stars because a certain plot point is just not my thing, but the book itself was great. And then the second book of the author's books that I'm going to recommend, I'm actually currently reading, and I only have 2.5 hours left of the audiobook, so I've been able to make a bit of a judgment, and that is Let Me Love You by Alexandria House and Let Me Hold You. So the first one, Let Me Love You, is 2 single parents. He is a rap star and she works for a jeweler, and they both have kids. Hers is very young and his is, I think she's a teenager, like maybe she's 13, and they both end up falling for each other. He really decides that he wants her, and they meet, and they don't hit it off very well at all. She like really hates him, thinks he's a womanizer. He's got like someone in bed next to him because she's like delivering jewelry, and he accuses her of being her boss's like mistress, like sending out on errands, and she's not having that. But they're both single parents. The thing I didn't love about this one though is that both of their exes are very conniving and like want them back, and I don't like the jealous ex trope, so that's why I gave this 3 stars. But if you don't have a problem with that, I think you'd really like this. It was just a personal preference of mine, but I would definitely still recommend this. And then the second one, Let Me Hold You, she is the mother of a basketball star actually, so she's 35 and her son's 20. She had him very young, and he's an NBA player, but a different NBA player is like 25, 26, and he meets her at this center for youths. Like they put on little programs for kids to come in and like do things, and so there was a basketball program, and our hero came, and they like really like each other. There is trigger warnings for abuse though. She's been in a lot of abusive relationships, and her son has had to see that, so he's super overprotective of her, so she has to kind of hide her new relationship from her son. It's really great. I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't think anything horrible is going to happen in the last 2.5 hours that would make me hate it. So this is definitely another great single parent romance with an older child. Then I have Rayfire by Rebecca Weatherspoon. This is a loved one on BookTube and on Bookstagram, and this one, she is a doctor and a single parent to twins, and she needs a nanny. Her last nanny just like up and quit, and so Rafe is a buff male nanny, and he shows up, and he's amazing with her kids, and he actually really early on is like, I'm attracted to you, let's discuss this. And so they're very upfront about their feelings. It is great. I loved it. If you like that nanny trope, I think you'd love this. I have a couple more with the nanny trope, so that's popular with the single parent romances. Then I have Look the Part by Julie Ann. This one, he is a lawyer. Trigger warnings for loss of a loved one. He lost his wife, and he feels like it's his fault, and he has an autistic son who is just amazing, and he is renting out a place in his building, and the woman who rents it out is a music therapist. He didn't understand what music therapy was, and so it's noisy and he hates it, so he keeps on trying to kick her out. And then his son actually starts learning the guitar from her and really takes a shine to her. And I really loved the single parent aspect of this. Like, the kid was amazing and he was such a great part of the plot and so authentic. I don't like it when they have the kids and they make them act way too young or way too old, and it's kind of clear that the author isn't around kids that age a lot and they're just writing about them. I loved how this child acted and their part in the book, and I really loved the romance and how his son kind of like brought them together when it would have been a lot easier for him to like cut her off. So it was great. Then we have one that I talk about a lot, but I have to include in this video. That's Inevitable Conclusions by Christina C. Jones. This one, our heroine had a daughter very young, and so she's a grown adult now. Because our heroine is in her late 30s, and this is a second chance romance between her and someone that's her best friend, and he's pretty much like an uncle figure to her daughter. Pretty much like a father figure, but I think he's more like an uncle. And she and him had a fling when they were in their early 20s, like right after she had her child, but they were too jealous, too young, and it just like didn't work. So they're like, let's cut this off now before we ruin our friendship. And they haven't gotten back together until now when they decide to give it a second chance. She works with like theater, which is really cool. She's like a choreographer, producer, director kind of person, and her daughter's actually in theater as well. We got her daughter's book in book 3 in the series, which I really enjoyed, but I really did like having an older heroine who has an older daughter, and I really like that dynamic. I need to read more of those books. Then we have One Hot Italian Summer by Karina Halley. This one I need to read now because it's been snowing nonstop in Ohio and I'm on another snow day today. But this one takes place in Italy. Our heroine, trigger warning for loss of a loved one, she did lose her writing partner and she's writing by herself for the first time, and she just can't. She doesn't have confidence in herself and she's still grieving over her best friend. And so her publicist, agent, I don't remember, I think it's her agent, sends her off to a villa in Italy to write her romance and get inspired. Little does she know someone's actually staying at that villa, and it is a man and his son, and it's her romance with that man. And this one is just so great as well. She's like living with them basically because like he doesn't decide to kick her out. He's like, okay, it's fine, you can stay. And it's kind of forbidden though because there is a connection between the man staying there and her agent. I really love this one. If you really love a holiday romance, something about a writer as well, I think you would enjoy this one. Then the only historical I have on here is The Highlander by Kerrigan Byrne. He is a single father and he needs a nanny, and he was a colonel, I think, in the military. He hasn't been around his kids a lot. He really feels disconnected from them, but then she gets the job as the nanny and gets along really well with them, and it's their romance. And I really enjoyed this one. This just reminded me though of another one. I can't believe I forgot this one. It's Sister Philip with Love by Julia Quinn. This one, Philip is a single parent and Eloise comes, and this is book 4 in the Bridgerton series. No, book 5. This is book 5 in the Bridgerton series. You should read them in order, but this one, Eloise shows up because her and Philip have been writing together. And Philip says, well, what do you think about marrying me? I need a new wife. And it was actually her cousin that had married him that passed away. Trigger warnings for this one though, for suicide and loss of a loved one. She does end up dying in the very prologue. She does end up dying in the prologue, and it's kind of traumatic, and Philip's still grieving over it. He does feel like he is responsible for it, and so he is kind of not a happy guy. He likes his gardening and stuff. He's really into plants, which I loved. And Eloise shows up to just meet him. Had no idea he had kids, and then they have like all these shenanigans happening where the kids play pranks on her, she plays pranks on them, and she's falling in love with Philip. This one's great. You should read this one as well. Then I have To Hate Adam Connor by Ella Mays. This is book 2 in the series. It can be read as a standalone though. He is an actor and he lives next door to the couple from the first book, and the heroine ends up staying with them, and she spies on him, and she notices that his son actually goes into the pool and is having trouble, and so she jumps the fence and saves him, and then he's like, you're a stalker, you're a crazy stalker, and she's like, no, your kid was almost drowning, I saved him. He instantly hates her. He's like terrified that his son almost died, and then he's like blaming her for it, even though it's really his fault, and his assistant was supposed to be watching him, and so they get off on the wrong foot, but they end up falling in love, and it's really great. I really enjoyed this one as well. I really love Ella Mays. Hopefully she comes out with a book this year. She didn't release anything last year, which is really sad, but I love her books, and this one was no exception. Then we have Down Too Deep by J. Daniels. I think the previous one in the series is also a single parent one, and the first book in another one of her series, though that's kind of a spoiler saying that's a single parent romance because you don't know, and it's kind of like a surprise when it's revealed, so I'm not going to say which one it is. But this one are 2 single parents, and so he has a daughter, and he lost his wife when she was very young. So this one again has loss of a loved one. She is a single mom of twins, and so she ends up showing up and helping him take care of his daughter because he's just like completely lost and he's super busy with work. I think he's the restaurant owner in the series, and she ends up helping him, and it's really sweet. I really enjoy this. I read it 2 years ago, I think. It's been a while since I've read this book, but I remember really enjoying it for the single parent aspect. It came out in 2019, and I think you should read this. J. Daniels is a great author. I don't know if she's been coming out with a lot lately. I haven't seen anything from Forever coming out from her, so maybe she's just self-publishing. I don't know, but this series is great and I would definitely recommend it. Then we have A Nordic King by Karina Halley, another Karina Halley, and another nanny romance. He is actually a king and he lost his wife in an accident, and so he is left with his children, and she comes to stay with him, and he immediately like doesn't want her to be there because like she is pretty and he's attracted to her, and he's like, no, she is not gonna be the nanny. But she was hired, and she went through this like really long process to be hired, and it's their romance. Again, we have a very damaged hero, we have an age gap, we have it in another country. I really enjoyed this one as well. And the last one is one I forget about reading because I read it a long time ago. I haven't talked about it in a long time, but that's Until It Fades by K.A. Tucker. Our heroine is a single mom, and she, I think, is a waitress, and she's in a snowstorm, I think, and she finds this car, and it's a hockey player in it, and she pretty much saves his life, and he ends up kind of showing up again, and she's being interviewed about saving him, and they end up having a romance together, and it's really sweet. She is just trying to provide for her child and herself, and I really enjoyed it. I know like having a kid wasn't in the plan for her, and she was really young when she had her child, but it's a hockey romance, so he's a hockey player and he really likes her, and I love K.A. Tucker's romances, so this one was great as well. And those are my single parent romance recommendations. Let me know down below if you have any more. This brought up some memories of books I haven't talked about in a while, so I'm glad I did this video. I really love this trope though, so let me know your recommendations, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.